episode 40. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swift.
How is it going, Dave? I hear you a little bit better since you're not on vacation anymore.
Better?
And we're back on Twitch.
Because I'm not on vacation? That doesn't go together.
Last week, we didn't do a Twitch stream because you're on vacation last week. So, you're in your cabin or whatever recording. So we're back on a normal routine.
I appreciate everyone being nice and wishing me well wishes while I was on vacation and still being able to record a podcast. It worked out relatively well and sounded pretty good. So it's important for us again to try to continue to produce weekly content for you guys as consistently as we can. And we sometimes use the bonus episodes as a backbone to build on top of or to take a week off. But that doesn't happen periodically. So that only does happen periodically, and we haven't had to break glass in case of emergency yet, which we have. So we have a couple episodes for that, and it was on the table on Tuesday afternoon at one point in time, but It all worked out, and we appreciate you guys listening and downloading. If you could share the show with your friends, that is a huge help. It helps to grow the show, get more eyes and ears on the show. We are also back on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where you can drop a follow there and subscribe to us if you choose. You can use your Twitch Prime subscription, or you can use a paid sub because we are a Twitch affiliate. So any of those things are appreciated. And same thing, just sharing all of the social media stuff. It's all going to be linked in the show notes. Sharing on Facebook, retweeting on Twitter. Those help. The likes and the hearts, they always help, but they don't really the algorithms don't really work in the favor as well as a retweet and a share. So any of those are appreciated. So you can find all of our content at digitaldaysgaming.com. Every episode that we've uploaded, and then also if you would follow us on YouTube, you just need to search Digital Days Gaming because enough of you haven't followed yet for us to have our own URL, so that's kind of rude. So if you could follow, that would be appreciated.
Passive aggressiveness at its finest.
And then just if you do support us on Twitch, just a reminder that it doesn't auto-renew. So I think one of our community members in Discord put a screenshot of his Google Calendar up reminding him every 34 days or something like that he needs to check his subscription. So thank you, Raider, for that. That's always appreciated. And we're going to jump into the news, and there's a lot of interesting news. It's kind of a couple of dull moments and a kind of really? So
maybe a few reallys with our last story, but yeah, let me hop right into this. So people are excited about the Avengers game. They just did another gameplay breakdown of the Avengers game last week, which I actually still need to watch. But on the PlayStation blog, it was revealed that Spider-Man is coming to the Avengers game in 2021 as a bonus character for free, but he will be exclusive to the PlayStation 4 or to PlayStation consoles. This, of course, got people up in arms, because of course it does, because it sucks anytime there's exclusive content being locked up. That is always a downer. This one to me isn't too much of a surprise. Sony, as far as I know, have the console exclusive rights to Spider-Man, so I saw hate going on both sides, people hating on Sony for it and people hating Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics for it. But in reality, Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix probably didn't have a choice on this. If
Sony proper, Sony Corporation, owns Spider-Man in general, right?
They do, though there is some weird stuff when they brought Tom Holland into the MCU. There was apparently, no one knows the full agreement behind it, but that's when, we first started to hear about Sony's making a exclusive PS4 game for Spider-Man. So I'm guessing in that swap of let's let Disney have Tom Holland for the Avengers, the video game rights were also just thrown in there to make it make sense for them. I doubt Square wanted it to be the case, but this is probably the only way they can get Spider-Man in their game.
Well, and when they announced Avengers, they announced either a partnership with PlayStation at the time.
Yes.
And we didn't really know what that was going to involve. Obviously this is part of it. I would assume that there's probably going to be some early access or earlier access to certain things like suits and characters. I could see, and if they've announced any of this, I haven't been paying attention. I could definitely see new skins accessed on October 1st for PlayStation and October 7th for everybody else or something like that. And I'm sure Sony paid for this. And again, disclosure, like we covered a heavy Sony platform, and I played a game that I still play a game that Sony essentially bought full-blown exclusive rights to of content, and I'll have to really see how the Spider-Man content plays out, and if there's actually like a story and like things that are going with it, and if it's a large chunk of content that the other player base on PC and Xbox isn't getting access to, that sucks. If it's just a playable character that you can earn or buy different suits for, I'm kind of okay with it. But if there is a significant amount of development put into incorporating Spider-Man into the game in terms of like an origin mission, or like where he's fighting a villain, like if like there's exclusive levels, exclusive stages that you can't access in the other versions of the game because you don't have Spider-Man, that sucks.
Yeah, so in the article, they said there will be an in-game event to introduce him. So he's not just going to be dropped in and just available. There is an in-game event to it, and there's going to be unique challenges and setting for him. The depth of that, we don't know. Someone on Twitter, Chandler, who was on the Destiny episode, brought up a good point that there's a chance that the content isn't that significant, as we've seen with other console-exclusive ones. It's because for a company, it's just not really worth putting the effort unless Sony cut a check. I have a feeling a check wasn't cut. I think this came down to legality of like they wanted Spider-Man because you can't have an Avengers game without Spider-Man, and the only way to get him included is to just make him exclusive, and then they can take care of whatever exclusive deal they had with Sony. This probably will be locked in forever if I'm right about like the exclusivity with Spider-Man. I know he's in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, but that game came out before Marvel Spider-Man. He is in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but I always feel like since that's Switch exclusive, it's on its own island. Like Sony and Microsoft don't really pay attention to Nintendo when it comes to that.
It just sucks. I mean, it's just like if this event that they're going to put on, like, and we still like the problem is that with this game as a whole is that Square hasn't really done a great job of explaining like how this is going to work. Because this looks like a really big smokescreen for a live service game. Like there's a big smokescreen around this.
But I think that's how they've pitched it.
Yeah.
Like, fully, that's how they pitched it.
Right, but they haven't really explained it yet, and especially again with us being a month out. Like I'm sorry, but this has like Anthem written all over it. Like, why would I want to play this game after I complete a story mission or complete the missions for the multiple characters and unlock them? Why would I want to grind a game like this? What benefit is it going to be? And I'm sorry, and it already looks rough. It's looking better. Like the game is looking better, and I still want to play it. I want to check out the beta, and I have an interest in looking at the game because of the Marvel characters, and the Avengers universe is fascinating and interesting. But if I'm going to be grinding out content in this game 6 months after launch for a white Iron Man suit, that ain't enough.
Yeah, it definitely is looking like it's going to fall into that pattern, though, of a live service game.
It's not going to be enough for everybody else. There's got to be a real reason to do it. And unless this is some kind of loot-based game, or they're going to have some really, really cool cosmetic, like really, really cool cosmetic.
So if you saw the first gameplay thing, it looks like this game is going to be heavily cosmetic based in terms of just, I think for Iron Man alone, they showed like a dozen different costumes that you can unlock and have different abilities and just look cool because they're going off, comic books. There's like dozens and dozens, if not hundreds for some of these characters.
But do you have a desire to play this like any kind of end game style built game as service? Is a lot of it is playing the same content over and over again with different characters or different builds or different things. Like, do you think that these suits are going to like have like the 11 different suits for Iron Man are going to have 11 different functionalities?
No, most likely it's just going to be little tiny things that are different, which, that will be kind of a bummer. But this also seems like a game that would fill that void that I currently have with games where I don't have a friend game that all my friends would be willing to buy. So if the gameplay is at least competent enough, I can see myself still getting this just for a co-op reason, because everything's better co-op.
gameplay always wins, and good cooperative gameplay always wins. But there comes a point where it's like, I don't really want to do this anymore because, and especially if there's some randomness in the game too, like it's gonna be really punishing. Like, oh, I just did this on really stupid hard level and I didn't get anything. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like maybe the beta will show it off a little bit more. I hope, but I don't see. And I'm talking about it from a Destiny, Division, Anthem style perspective. Is I don't see the long-term stretch goal in this game.
I mean, I see what their goal is going to be, is just adding more and more iconic characters.
Yeah, but I can't just keep doing the same bridge mission over and over again with Black Widow and Thor and a different looking Thor. Like that doesn't do it.
Dave, you've been playing Destiny for like 5 years.
Yes, but in those 5 years, there's been like 11 raids.
I know, which over time, but those first 6 months of Destiny, you're kind of playing the same missions over and over again.
2 raids in the first 6 months.
That's still 6 months. Like, we're attempting to get 2 raids.
But I'm saying, as a comparison, though, this is the same problem.
But your weeklies are still like, I'm going to do this same mission over and over again, just to unlock something new. It depends on what unlocks they have outside of cosmetics.
Right, yeah, exactly. The materials, like whatever material or loot they're going to give, and that kind of needs to be explained a little bit. I'm not, at least with the weekly stuff in Destiny, like you had 8 or 9 different strikes that you could feature each week, and but. If they're going after this crowd at all in terms of a live service, the loot, even semi-loot driven game, I can tell you right now they're failing in terms of their marketing.
I don't know if they're necessarily going for that hardcore crowd for loot games. I think this is going to be a loot light game for the casual market because it's Marvel Avengers. They don't want it to be that sort of experience where you're like the hardcore people are the ones that are going to be like, oh damn, I missed that event, so I can't do this. I think they're looking for the casual people who's like, I just want to play the Hulk for a little bit, and then maybe I'll play Thor.
Yeah, but how long does that last, though? Like, that's the thing. Like,
it depends on how many characters they have and how entertaining each character is.
Yeah, so are you telling me, like, okay, this game comes out in September, and if they drop a new character, like, in March of 2021, that's enough to draw you in to play it that week?
It'll bring me back to the game, for sure. Okay. Will it keep me going week to week? No. But they're launching with the Avengers squad, and that's like 5-6 people. So that, in theory, should keep me entertained enough, as long as each character is fun to play, and my friends are willing to drop a character. I don't know if anyone's gonna want to main a character in this game, but we still don't know the breadth of content in terms of how many missions are there. Is there just gonna be a bridge city evil layer thing and that's it day one, and then it's gonna be oh, this is a waste of time? But if they can put enough instances in here, that could be fun. I still think the character design stuff needs work. They're not gonna use, in this article they talk about everything but Marvel's Spider-Man or PlayStation Spider-Man. They talk about all the other Spider-Man versions but that one, so they're not allowed to use that apparently. So I'm hoping character design for Spider-Man,
which is weird, since it's exclusive to Sony, they can't use the Sony Spider-Man, which is weird.
Which would be the most PlayStation thing, I think. The most Sony thing of you have to use Spider-Man on our console only, but you can't use our Spider-Man.
It's also a fascinating, this sounds terrible to say this out loud, but just because it's bad business, but it's also fascinating. Oh, if you buy a PS5 Spider-Man Miles Morales, you get an exclusive skin in Avengers.
That could be a thing if Square wants to pay up.
So it's to draw different things, because the Call of Duty did that with the Destiny shader. So the crossovers that could happen. I don't condone them. I don't like them. I pre-order stuff that I think is cool, and that's it. I don't pre-order stuff to get something else in another game.
Yeah.
But it's just again, this. I feel like this has Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone. Kind of we're getting closer and closer to launch, and we don't really know what this game is.
But both of those games sold really well.
They did. I'm not saying, but I mean, just using those two as examples. How long? I mean, how much of the Avengers coattail can they ride? Probably a lot. But in terms of what they're hoping for, this is the same company that said when Tomb Raider sold 2 million copies, it was a failure.
Yeah, the expectations are probably going to be through the roof for this for Square. they probably had looked what Sony did for Spider-Man and was like, that only has one Avenger in it.
And I think this is going to review terrible too. This is going to have a terrible Metacritic score.
I feel like it'll be all over the place.
It's just,
there's enough geek sites out there that will just eat up anything Marvel, so it probably will do really well. And then the typical sites, like the core gamer sites, will probably bash it for like its lack of depth or gameplay. Which the gameplay videos I've seen, like the first one, I thought the game looked really bland. Second,
they're getting better.
It looked okay.
Like
they're getting better.
You can definitely see that there's massive improvement, and you can also see that I feel like they're listening to what people have been telling them since they saw it at events and things. Even though they said like we're not changing anything, well, you've started to change some of the stuff you said you weren't going to change.
Yeah, the only thing that hasn't changed is the really bad character design for some of the Avengers, but
right. And I have a feeling that you probably won't see their faces as much as you're showing in the cutscenes. Like they're trying to tell a specific thing, but like when you're fighting as Thor, like you're fighting in the third person perspective behind him.
And they're putting enough costumes in there that you can easily just swap him out. And maybe you really want to play as Thor, like the way he plays, but hate the way he looks. Well, guess what? You want to get his favorite costume? You're gonna have to put 10 hours into this game.
Well, that's the catch though. Is it gonna be pay to accelerate? Because this game's going to have some microtransactions in it. I have a feeling this game's going to have some pretty heavy microtransactions in it. But I also think it would. I also feel like it's going to have earnable content in it, like you just said, that you do this mission for 10 hours, or you do this thing for 10 hours and get so many kills, you get this exclusive shiny looking Thor hammer. But you can also pay $5 and just have it.
As long as I stay away from loot boxes. Yeah. I'm fine. Everything will be earnable. Like, I don't think any game can go back to the days of like, no, you have to buy this straight out. Everything will be earnable. It's just a matter of how much of a grind it is. And I believe Destiny does this, where like you can grind all the content that's there, but also you can pay an absurd amount of price for specific things that you want in the Destiny store, right?
Yeah, there's
an emote or something.
There's things that are sold for in-game earnable currency, and then there's things that are sold. Some of the same items could be sold for in-game earnable currency and sold for silver with your real money. And those things rotate, and they do make you aware of the things that are there are things that are only available for real money. They will never be available for in-game currency, and they make you aware of that.
Yeah, I feel like most things will just be able to be earned, and then
I think that there'll be a small handful. Like I think it'll be 85-15. 85% of the stuff will be earnable. 15% of it will be purchasable, and only purchasable. Like they might have something like really cool or really ridiculous in there that that doesn't necessarily go with it. Like an event. I don't like, as an example, like a St. Patrick's Day themed Captain Marvel outfit. Like that'll be purchasable only.
Which that would just be her basic outfit because that's already green. But yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to keep doing these videos until it releases, and then I want to see their roadmap for, will there be content in between? Oh, I think they already said, like, Hawkeye will be added before Spider-Man, so
yeah, it'll just be how the content is added, I guess. Like I said, if it's just like, oh, you get to play as this person, and it's the same 12 missions, like, eh.
Yeah, I'm hoping everything follows the in-game event thing the Spider-Man is.
For sure, yeah.
Where there actually is a reason to get him. Maybe you have to earn him. You can't just pick him outright, but it's just like, if they do it that way, then chances are the in-game event will be like, play this one mission as any Avenger to unlock Spider-Man, and then you do like a tutorial mission on how to play Spider-Man. But yeah, exclusivity sucks, hey, you know what? Sony spent a lot of money to get Spider-Man and to keep Spider-Man, so they're going to keep doing this. And if Avengers is successful, Spider-Verse 2 comes out in 2022, so Miles Morales will probably be coming to the Avengers then and also be exclusive to PlayStation.
If the game lasts that long. Yep.
All right. Next story, which came as kind of a surprise, but then as I thought about it, based on the rumors, not that crazy. Halo Infinite's multiplayer will be free for everyone and run at 120 frames per second. This was just kind of dropped on the Halo and 343 Twitter account on Thursday, I think, where it's like, their exact quote is, "Halo is for everyone. We can confirm Halo Infinite multiplayer will be free to play and will support 120 frames per second on Xbox Series X. Details to be shared later." So Yeah, pretty straightforward.
I think that this announcement was forced out because after their Xbox Showcase event and they showed the game and they didn't talk about multiplayer at all, there was a lot of rumors swirling around multiplayer being delayed or not coming at launch. And they 343 kind of shut that down pretty quick, about 24 hours after those rumors came out. And then I think they felt like they had to say something because technically this is not, with it going free to play, this is not coming with Halo Infinite, technically.
Yeah, but it'll be a downloadable thing,
Yeah.
just like Warzone comes with Modern Warfare, technically. But you're downloading a separate client for Warzone, or a separate client is available. The only thing we know about the multiplayer, because they've been really quiet about this, is it won't feature loot boxes. It doesn't say it won't feature microtransactions, but it won't have loot boxes. Yeah,
and it'll have a battle pass. I'll tell you right now, it'll have a battle pass. It'll have some cool, cosmetics. I mean, Halo is the foundation of multiplayer first-person shooters, and they have a standard that they have to hit, but at the same time, they also have a player base that they need to support. And I think going free to play is a good option. This is something that I'm sure that internally, or they've seen data of like what Warzone has done for Modern Warfare. In terms of like people like, hey, there's a really kind of cool story based thing, or you can the regular, the non-battle royale multiplayer is really good. Like, oh, I really like this gunplay, and then your progress carries over into there. Then they'll go in there. I don't know enough about Halo to see if the progress that you earn in the multiplayer helps you in the campaign at all. I don't think so. And then again, this is just another pro-consumer good choice from Xbox right now. Like, if you are on the fence about Halo, just play the free-to-play version, see if you like the gameplay. It's going to play like that if you play the campaign, and the campaign is still coming to Game Pass.
Yep, and which I think this is why it's free-to-play. Everyone's saying, like, oh, Xbox Live is just going to be free next gen. I don't think that will be the case, because that's free money that Microsoft will be giving away right now when they're trying to sell Game Pass. I still think Game Pass and Live are just going to continue to just be the ultimate thing, and then at a certain point, all you're going to be able to purchase is Game Pass Ultimate if you want to play online. But yeah, this is an advertisement for, I'm sure, the multiplayer, or the free-to-play client for the multiplayer will just have an option in the menu that says play now on Game Pass.
Yep.
The single-player campaign, to unlock a fucking fancy outfit.
It's a great advertisement for Game Pass. Your buddy's like, hey, man, the new Halo came out. Oh, I remember playing the multiplayer. Hey, dude, it's free to play. Just download it. What? And then, I can play the campaign on Game Pass for $15 a month. And then they get $15 a month. And then they forget they have it. And Microsoft gets their $1.8 billion from you per year.
Or they play another game that they get hooked into and are like, well, shit, I can't cancel now because I have to keep this game going. Yeah, no, it's a great move for Microsoft. I don't see them losing in this. Like, they might lose some sales on the single player campaign because there are people, just like there are people for Call of Duty, that only play the multiplayer.
I think that player doesn't know. But here's the thing: like, multiplayer is still going to come with the disc version of the game.
Yeah, no, exactly. But they might lose a sale or two, or probably a good chunk of sales to people that just want to play the multiplayer. But they'll make that back on Game Pass and all that.
Double.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. So just a quick couple rapid fire questions for you, okay? Do you think this game, Halo multiplayer, will have seasons?
Yes.
Do you think it'll have a battle pass?
Of course.
Do you think it'll have cosmetics that you can only purchase for cash?
Either that or a reward system thing that we see in every other battle royale game.
Okay. How much do you think the battle pass costs?
$10 a season. So I think that's the standard price.
That's $40 for a year.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, so usually the seasons are 3 months, and then so would you rather sell 40? Like, would you rather provide interesting content and continue to sell somebody, even if the game only lasts 2 years, 8 seasons, and you make $80 off of it, or would you rather just sell the $60 version of the game?
You would want to do the lawn trail and get your money there, and then you might be able to pick up a couple bucks off someone for just random cosmetics, or get them to sign in for Game Pass, because. Yep. Again, I really think there will be a menu option that says play the single-player campaign in Game Pass, or the loading screens, how short they might be, will say, did you know the single-player campaign exists, and it's on Game Pass.
This is like kindering back. This is why Uncharted 3's multiplayer went free to play at one point in time, right? Or 2?
Yes, 3.
Oh, yeah, went free to play because 1, the player base fell to nothing, and 2, they were starting to ramp up advertising for Uncharted 4. So in terms of building the base of what you want to build, like this is great. Like being free, that you can, if you do not want to spend a dime, you don't need to, and you can enjoy Halo multiplayer. But if you find that you're having fun playing the game, playing with your buddies, like you said, and you know, cooperating, and then you spend $10 and you get your battle pass and you get to start earning like shiny pink and purple things and sparkly stuff, then you know they're going to keep playing, and then then you're going to be playing with your buddies, and somebody else played the campaign and say, oh, I really had a lot of fun with this level, and you're going to like the small bit of FOMO is going to thing, and your buddy's going to say, hey man, just spend $15 for a couple months and get Game Pass and cancel when you're done. Then they got you.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely is the play for them to just go that route.
If you're listening to this and you don't think that's a viable option, you better not have Netflix, Hulu, magazine subscription services, car insurance, like none of it, because you're fitting into if you should just be off the grid entirely if you don't think that this play is working. And if you don't think that this makes money for companies, you haven't been paying attention enough to what Fortnite has done, what Destiny has done, what Escape from Tarkov has done. Tons and tons of these games that are continuously doing this. What Rocket League is trying to do now. Like you're just out of the loop, or you're not connecting the dots well enough. One of the two.
Yeah, this is classic video game business in 2020 of just hook people with the battle pass, get as many people as you can possibly get.
If you want to know what not to do when you're making a competitive multiplayer game and you don't make it free to play, go look at that Rocket Arena game.
Yeah, which EA were like shadow in the middle of the night giving away free copies for.
You want to see what happens when you charge $30 for a 3v3 one-hit kill game that has a battle pass in it as well? That's what happens.
Yeah, where that game will go free to play very soon, I feel like. And it looks like it's a good game.
Yeah.
It looks really fun.
I said it needs to be free to play when we saw it.
Yes, same. I thought it was going to be free to play until
not
$30.
After the
show. No.
So, but it's overall it's a good move for Xbox, and it's a great move for continued Game Pass subscriptions, because just like a free agent leaving a team for another team, or Howard Stern back in the day when he left for satellite radio, the amount of people that he brought over to that subscription-based service because he changed, or because he's all of a sudden his show was available on there, is going to be the same for Halo. Like the amount of credibility that name carries and the brand that it carries is similar, on par to Madden and Call of Duty, in terms of like, oh, there's a new Halo out. Like it, and I could say that in my office at work right now to like 3 or 4 people that are older than me. And they'll know what Halo is, and they'll be like, I remember playing that. I like, oh, my son has an Xbox. Well, you can play for free now. What?
Yeah. This just makes sense. We'll probably see more like popular multiplayer games try this, especially Halo. Halo, like the last 2 Halos, I know there are fans of it, but they didn't hit to the same level people are used to Halo hitting. So this makes sense for them to try this as like a not a last ditch effort for Halo, but as a like, let's just go for broke. Let's just go gas on the pedal and see what happens.
I think that the reason why we don't know what Call of Duty is coming out in November is because it's going to be a free to play multiplayer.
Maybe, or who knows what's going on with that. I was going to say like maybe COVID did mess it up more than we think, because it's still crazy.
Mm-hmm. But at this point in time, with the success of Warzone and the success of Modern Warfare's seasonal system, why wouldn't they go free to play for it right now?
My question is, what if Warzone's doing so well for them that they looked at the numbers and looked at projections and are like, why don't we just ride Warzone out for this year? Like, we already know the holidays are going to be screwed because of the current pandemic.
But they haven't even said about Warzone transferring, though. At this point in time, I think they would say something about it moving. No.
I just don't think. I wouldn't be surprised.
To next gen.
Yeah. No. It's going to happen to next gen no matter what. That'll be an announcement they announced soon, probably. But I'm saying, what if they just like, let's just ride Warzone out this year, no new Call of Duty. Let's just keep Warzone going. It's producing enough money for us to be like, okay, and then as soon as things get better. I know that's unlikely, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're just like, let's just hold back on the next Call of Duty, because we already like moved a team away from the cycle, so now all the teams are have one less year to produce their games anyways.
Well, and they just launched Season 5 for Modern Warfare, and so Season 6 is coinciding with the November timeframe, where they could then just, at the start of Season 6, just say the Modern Warfare multiplayer is free to play, and the Battle Pass purchase system exists, which is already in place. And, you know, nobody's talking about the campaign for Modern Warfare anymore.
No, it was fine. It did its job for a Call of Duty game. Yeah, and then just do that, and then you just give cosmetics away to the people that bought it to make good on it.
Well, you earn them.
We're seeing with
it's it's the same thing. Like, you know, I just love that, you know, Call of Duty implemented this system, and people are like, oh, my number got reset, let me go grind it again. And those are the same people that were making fun of me 2 years ago for grinding a number.
Yeah.
It's okay when it's a game you like, though. It's okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the Halo,
I'm in a little bit of a
free-to-play,
weird mood today. Sorry.
Yeah, but Halo going free to play makes sense to me. There'll be a multiplayer blowout special for it soon. Apparently, there's not going to be a beta for the game. They're just going to go for it. I mean, it's free to play, so they'll probably present it as some sort of early access or secret early access sort of scenario. But let's get into the next story, which I have a feeling Dave has opinions on. All right, so there's two things. We'll start the first one, which is just kind of sad. There is a state of play this week, but Sony announced that you shouldn't expect much from it. There's going to be no PS5 news in terms of release date, pre-orders, price.
Fail.
None of that. It's just going to be a look at PS4 and PSVR games, and that's about it, and some indie games that are coming to PS5. So let's just get out of the way. That sucks. I kind of hope Microsoft then uses this to then drop their pre-orders and price just right as the state of play is going, just to take the moment away. But that's out of the way. But Sony did put up a Q&A or an answers and questions article on the PlayStation blog that talks about...
That's a Q&A, not an answers and questions.
I was reading a headline where it says PlayStation 5 answers your questions, and I was like, huh?
Okay.
Okay, so they put up a very basic article that let you know what accessories will work on the PS5. So specialty peripherals that work for the PS4 will work for PS5 games and PS4 games on the hardware. So we're talking racing wheels, arcade sticks, flight sticks. Those will still work on the PS5 for PS5 games. The Platinum and Gold wireless headsets...
And for PS4 games.
And PS4 games that support it, yeah.
The top 100 backwards compatible games.
Yes. The Platinum and Gold wireless headsets and third-party headsets that connect by USB port or audio jack will work with the PS5, though the companion app for the Gold and Platinum headset will not be available on a PS5, so I guess you'll need to keep that app on your PS4 or keep your PS4 active so you can switch over the settings for the companion app.
Or the data tell them nobody used that stupid thing anyways.
The developers didn't use it enough. I actually thought it was a really cool thing, but no one ever used it enough. Okay.
Wait. So wait. I'm sorry. So you're sitting there saying that you keep your PS4 and you switch between the two audio profiles, and that's just going to work in the PS5?
I guess because the data is saved. No.
No way.
No. So the data is saved in the headset, but all the adjustments you need that app to do it. So
yeah, but you can only switch between those two profiles.
Yeah, those two profiles. But remember, there's like a bunch of different profiles you can load onto the headset.
It had to do with the games, the in-game supporting them for the most part.
But that's where I'm thinking, like, if you're playing Uncharted 4 backwards compatibility, you would want that profile, so you'd want to load that to your headset. And
I would assume whatever kind of backwards compatibility thing that we're going to have with the PS5 is that you're going to load into a PS4 UI.
Which you'll still need that app if you want to load that game-specific profile.
But you'll have it in your PS4 UI. It's just not being put on PS5. It's not being put on PS5.
No, but the companion app is required for that stuff.
Right,
so...
and the companion app will work on the PS4 UI that you'll be accessing by...
No, but it says the app isn't compatible with the PS5. I don't think that app's coming over at all. You won't be able to download that app, which is why I think they clarify, like, that app is not compatible on PS5 because they don't want you to use it
because nobody else used it, that's why.
Probably, yeah. People were just fine with, like, the 3 preset settings on it. I'll save the good one for last. PS Move controllers and a PSVR aim controller will be compatible with PSVR games on PS5. So they're keeping up with that. And then this is my favorite one of my favorite ones. The PlayStation camera will work with the PS5 for playing PlayStation VR supported games, but it requires a PlayStation camera adapter that will be provided at no additional cost to PSVR users. More details on how to get your adapter will be announced at a later date.
A dongle for a dongle? Come on.
Yeah. I want to know, like, because as far as we know, there's only, like, USB ports on there, but the PSVR camera is a special port, so you will need a dongle from PlayStation to use your PSVR that you can get for free, but how?
And
will they be available? Yeah, no, exactly. In theory, if they don't send me the dongle the day I have my PS5, I can't play my PSVR stuff on the PS5, which is just insane to me. Like, I want to know what program it's going to be. A mail-in program. How do you do proof of purchase?
How much space did that damn port take up?
Nothing, as far as I know.
Put the port on the back of the system.
Right.
What is the other camera going to plug into? What port is that going to take up?
USB-C, maybe? Maybe there wasn't
a lot of them on the pictures we saw.
I'm guessing there's one on the back. There has to be a USB-C on the back. I'll have to look at that. I don't know if we have a clear shot of the ports, but apparently it's not going to have the camera thing, so maybe it wants to do better tracking through USB-C, because USB-C is a little bit more powerful. I don't know.
Track you, like, again, 3 months out from launch, better tracking for what game? Like,
yeah.
So,
this is the crazy part for me.
Is the PS5 camera going to work with PS4 VR?
It should, because all the camera does is track your headset. That's it. So that compatibility will be no problem, because it's using PS3 technology, and that's why PSVR has probably, in the VR world, it has the worst tracking, is because they're tied to this old-ass system where the camera is just looking for the light. So any camera technically can do that.
But that's not going to get better if...
They could have a better quality camera that can track that a little bit better and maybe make some guesses in terms of like where you're turning.
VR game?
Well, you would imagine
if I'm playing
on a PS4 game, you're going to see no benefit. But once they start releasing PS5 specific VR games that use the old headset, maybe there's some better things that they can use.
This is the first time Sony has said PSVR in about 9 months.
In a while, yeah. This leaves a bunch of question marks.
And it ain't good.
No. As soon as I heard of a special dongle, it's just like, how many are you going to have? You know how many PSVRs have been sold, so you better have equal amount of those available upon request. And I want to know...
My PS5 is going to look like a MacBook with dongle sticking out of it.
Yeah. I just want to know, like, what the system's going to be. It's probably going to be a website. Do I have to
take a picture of you wearing the VR headset upside down?
No, do I have to, ask my parents who bought me one for Christmas, hey, do you still have the receipt? Because I got to send Sony a proof of purchase.
You'll type in the serial number.
Okay, serial number, that would make sense. Okay. But still, how long is it going to take? Am I going to have to pay for shipping for the PSVR dongle? How much will that cost? Just so I can play
Dumb. There's dumb. This is dumb. It's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then
put the PS4 camera port on the back of the PlayStation.
Right? Or include the adapter with every PS5.
No, because it'll get lost.
No, it won't. When was the last time you lost? Just have it plugged in already, or put it there.
Where are the where are the wrist straps for your Switch controllers?
They're in the box.
Where's the box?
It's in my closet. I can go grab it right now. I keep track of all that stuff. But there's ways for you to put the packaging together to where it's hey, this dongle's for PSVR. You tie it to the manual, something. There's a way to do this. You tape it to the DualShock 5 controller. Hey, if you have PSVR, you're going to need this. There's ways to just include that in the box for PSVR people to know right away, but they're not going to do that. They're going to do this more convoluted system, which is just frustrating.
You made a super cool, unique looking console that you're going to have a bunch of shit sticking out of it.
Yes, but that's why it has the fins that go over the main part, so then it blends in. All right, and then here goes the controversial one, I guess the other one, because we're pretty up in arms about the dongle.
I didn't even know about the dongle. I know about this one.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know about the dongle? Yeah, the dongle is like the very last thing about the adapter at no additional cost. I guess it's free. Thank God it's free. Imagine if they try to charge people. Though we'll see if they charge shipping. If it costs me $10 to get a dongle, I'm going to be pissed. So the DualShock 4 controller and officially licensed third-party controllers will work with PS4 games on PS5, but, and I quote from the article, so the question was, will DualShock 4 work with PS5 games? And their answer was no. We believe that the PS5 games should take advantage of the new capabilities and features we're bringing to the platform, including the features of the DualSense wireless controllers. So basically, because of the features of the DualSense controller, they won't allow the DualShock 4 to work with that. Here's my thing. Let me just get it, because I know Dave's probably going to go off on this. I see their point of view in terms of they put a lot of cool features into the DualSense controller that
Allegedly.
they want developers no, they did put features in there. We know there are features. And my thing with it is I know what's going to happen. Developers aren't going to use these features past launch.
Yep.
All the launch games will use the features, and it'll be like the six-axis controller, where we had bullshit in games that didn't need to have it because they wanted to use those features. And then 6 months past this, not even 6 months, maybe 3 months past this, we'll have games that just don't use those features at all, or they put a dumb reason or dumb purpose for the features. And then you're just going to be disappointed with that. But I get their idea. They want to push the new DualSense controller that they spent a bunch of R&D on and really want to push those features on next-gen games. My concern with it is developers that aren't Sony developers will not use these features to their max. And I will be looking at like my Astro controller being like, man, I'd prefer to use that. Or all my other DualShock 4 controllers that I would just want to plug in just to be able to play them multiplayer games day one without having to like worry about stock of other DualSense controllers when launch happens.
I think your Astro controller will actually work, because I feel like Astro will just release a firmware update.
No, but if a game requires like the stuff with the analog sticks, or not the analog sticks, the triggers, then the Astro does not have the capabilities and feedback required for some of those features.
Yeah, I mean, so this is, first of all, like, this is stupid again. Like, there are people that are buying scuff controllers right now. They're buying Evo controllers. They're buying Astro controllers. And these are $100, $150, $200, $250 controllers. And now that they may or may not work, it sounds like they're not going to work. Because
with PS5 games.
Yeah, because you want, when Spider-Man shoots his webs out, you want to feel the little vibration on the trigger. Like, fucking cares? Like, yeah. Just make that it's the same thing. Like, you're using the controller, and that's a cool thing. But if you don't want to use it, can you turn it off? Because I guarantee you, anybody that's playing a new PS5 game that's like super good, or if there's something that's a competitive shooter, they're turning all that crap off right away. So, like, I get, like, I agree with you. Like, I understand what they're doing, but at the same time, not allowing a program that runs great on Windows 8 to run on Windows 10 is stupid. Like,
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, which the reason I think me and you were bothered by this is because all the controllers that work on the Xbox One will work with the Series X. This isn't unheard of that when you switch from one console generation to the other, you can't use your previous controllers. You cannot use your DualShock 3s with the PS4 currently. You cannot use your DualShock 2 with the PS3 unless you have a weird adapter, and that even is broken. So it's not unheard of that your old controllers don't work, but it doesn't help that the competition is letting all those controllers transition over to next gen.
When you look at the PS5 DualSense and you look at the PS4 DualShock, they do not look as dramatically different as the PS4 DualShock looks to the PS3 DualShock.
Yeah, but it's still a new generation. The PS1 DualShock to the PS2 DualShock, the DualShock 2 to the 3, they all look the same. So
each one of them had something, and I guess we'll really have to see what this haptic does. But
the haptic and also the pressure that can be done on the triggers that makes like.
But you think Call of Duty's going to use that?
It'll use it the first year.
I don't think Call of Duty's going to use it at all.
It might use it a little bit, but it's going to be gimmicky. Like every Sony might be putting a mandate where you have to use these features, and that will be there for the first year until they give up. Just like every game had to use the trackpad at launch, and all they did was use it as
a button.
Yes, exactly. But everyone had to use it. So this is definitely Sony doing a generational thing. I think it just looks bad because Microsoft, again, we're not a Microsoft. We didn't certainly turn into Microsoft fanboys, but Microsoft is very pro-consumer, and me and Dave are still consumers. So when we see that all the old controllers work for the other side, the other people get to use their controllers.
How much do you think another PS5 haptic controller is going to cost?
That's what my fear is, because it also has the built-in mic, which I think is stupid.
It's it's going to be $80 or $90.
Yeah, I think Joy-Con set the standard for expensive, and PlayStation probably.
Okay, I'm sorry. Joy-Cons are $80, so these will be $75, $80.
Yeah, I can see them being like 80 or 90 because they do more than a Joy-Cons, because Joy-Cons are overpriced for what they are. Mm-hmm. So I can totally see Sony being like 80 to 100.
Well, and again, like I've been reiterating time and time again, I probably wouldn't be as annoyed by this if I knew how much the PlayStation 5 was going to cost.
Because then isn't it so much more expensive? When you look at an Xbox One or an Xbox Series X, if you had one, you already have an Xbox controller. Mm-hmm. So you have two controllers day one if you buy an Xbox Series X, because the one in a box and then the Xbox One controller you have now. PS5, and then you had Game Pass for all the launch games being available on Game Pass. So you know how much you're going to end up paying once you have the console price extras. The the PS5, we don't know the price. We know games will cost $60 to $70, so you're going to have to put those costs in based on how many games you want to play. And then if you have multiple people in your house or you buy a co-op game, you're going to end up looking for an additional controller.
So a quote-unquote core consumer, a core consumer, okay? I'm using a very broad example. Obviously, they need a console. And again, I'm using a very, very broad example. Let's say that they pick up Madden and Spider-Man at launch, okay? I don't think that's too outrageous. They can't, and maybe, 38 years old, I got a kid, I got two kids, or whatever. They like to play Madden. They like to play each other in Madden. So $500 for the console.
$120 for the games.
$120 for the game. $620.
$80 for the controller.
$700.
Yes.
Oh, but my kid wants to play his buddy across the street or in the other state. They want to play online in Madden against each other. $60.
Yeah, for the 1 year membership if you're starting fresh. Because Plus will just carry over ideally, but who knows? And then if you're on the Xbox side, 2 games separate or
no, stop. If you're on the Xbox side, you can have your buddy that lives in the
that's
other
what I'm saying.
Yeah, your buddy that lives in the other state can own Madden on Xbox One, and you get the cool Series X, and you can still play against him.
Yeah. Or, but like in terms of like you swap out Halo for Spider-Man, because, exclusives, those are in Game Pass. So you'll buy the console at $500, Game Pass for how much Ultimate costs.
You'll buy Madden or Madden, you'll buy, I'm even saying you'll buy Madden because the smart delivery thing is out the window. You have to buy the new Madden. So if it's $500 again, you're at $560, and then you get a controller with it, and then you have the controller at home from the other one. You can just plug in and it works. So you're already, and then the extra $15 for, you're at $575. So that's a lot of money.
It's a lot. And it sucks because we have to guess because they still haven't revealed the price in the pre-orders, which is what's frustrating. I feel like if we knew the prices and stuff, this would be a lot easier to swallow.
You want to hear me talk about Sony in a positive light and as a pro-consumer company? This console needs to cost $400.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, it needs to.
That's the only way that
price.
this is going to win. I'm sorry. That's the only way it's going to win from a pro-consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. PlayStation 5 will win the physical console war by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
again,
hard to battle.
Do you want to sell 15 million consoles, 5 million consoles in the first 6 months at $500 a pop that maybe you make $50 off each one, or do you want to continue to grow a subscription-based service that's already generating $1.8 billion a year?
Yeah.
How many more people are going to pick up Game Pass because of Halo, or that are going to buy the Series X that maybe didn't know that Game Pass existed, that's going to come with a month or 3 months of Game Pass for free in it, and then they're gonna put their credit card number in and they're gonna get auto renewed. Like, this is Microsoft we're talking about. They are a sleazy, dirty, stingy company when it comes to getting
not Xbox.
when it comes to getting your data and getting your credit card information and knowing what you do, and then them getting you on Game Pass because of whatever game it is going to be at this point in time. And again, if you don't think like Destiny Beyond Light is going to help Game Pass sales, you're dumb. If you don't think Halo is going to help Game Pass sales, you're dumb. If you don't think any of these other games that we don't even know the rest of it, there's going to be another 1 or 2 heavy hitters this fall coming to Game Pass. And if you don't think that those are going to continue to drive people to get Game Pass, I don't understand how to get through to you. Like,
yeah, I like this. I know PlayStation, when they did this, they were hoping to, get out in front of this, answer some questions, but I feel like the marketing has just been so bad with how they're handling this stuff. It's kind of frustrating. And it's crazy because I'm still going to buy a PS5 day one.
Yeah,
but
I'm fine. I'm fine with Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank and Horizon 2 all requiring the haptic feedback. But Call of Duty and Madden shouldn't require it. Like, just let me play my game.
And honestly, it's going to be bare bones at best because they have to be on every platform, so they can't build around it. Watch Dogs shouldn't
require it. Like if you already got enough damn logos on your games for your VR games, what they require and they don't require. Just make the little outline of the silhouette of the DualSense 5 and add it to the box. What's another sticker on your box going to do?
Do you think 6 months down the line in firmware 2.0 for the PS5, they will add compatibility for the DualShock 4 controllers?
For third-party games, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Like, we'll get hey, we'll get a blog post that's like, hey, we heard your concerns, and
because it'll be the number one thing. Like, if I want to play, Rocket League, and I don't have enough controllers at home, and your controllers cost $80, and the battery life on them sucks after 4 months because the trigger ripped. Yeah.
Or the microphone I couldn't turn off, so
something's
going to
be wrong with this controller. Something's going to be wrong with this controller. Like manufacturing wise, whatever. I don't even remember what it was. The thumbstick's ripped. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that early on. The rubber would come
brightness
off.
of my light bar reduces my battery life. Stop leaving your controller on overnight.
Yeah, I think though, and it sucks because like the PS4, they went all out with like the colors and third-party support. So they went all out. So people, I would assume most PS4 owners have multiple controllers.
What I'm curious about, it's got to be just the haptic thing then, I guess. Like, but it's interesting to me. It's like, how does it? These third-party companies are very smart in terms of like what they do, and you're gonna. And I don't. I need to start using it more. That I've changed my setup initially because I was having some issues with like my Scuf Impact, and now that I've changed how things are set up at my desk, like I think I can actually start using them again because like I used to run my headphones into my controller, and then like if I ever tried to charge my controller at the same time, it made that irritating noise. But I've changed some things, so I really should start messing with some of my modded controllers a little bit more than I do. But within 6 months of this coming out, too, like a company like Evo Controllers is going to bust open this DualSense and make a custom controller with paddles because that's what they've done with the DualShocks.
They'll figure out how to do the pressure sensitive triggers. Like they'll figure that out. It's going to make their controllers significantly more expensive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the adaptive triggers, could be a cool feature, but I don't think third parties are going to use it.
Let's just include another dongle for the DualShock 4s to plug it in to make them connect.
Well, luckily they won't have to do that, but they're Bluetooth devices. They'll be fine. They'll be good with that. The create button will have... There'll be a firmware. I have a feeling there will be a firmware within 6 months that, hey, you can use your DualShock controller as third parties don't use the thing. It just sucks that this is just like one more thing that is like a knock against a system that I am super interested in. I really want a PS5, but every time there's an announcement or a non-announcement, it's one more thing of just like, shit, I might be buying an Xbox day one, even though I have a PC.
It happened when I was playing Paper Mario on vacation. I ran into a situation 10 minutes within the game that I was playing the game in docked mode with my third-party $15 controller, Power A, whatever I have. And it required motion controls. That doesn't work with my controller. First thing that I did, options, motion controls, off. And then it worked. Why can't that just be an option? That's the same thing with in God of War. Like, weren't you supposed to use the touchpad with that spike to open the door, but you could also eventually switch it to the thumbsticks where the controller vibrated more as you were moving it around?
I think so. It's been a while.
Yeah, and then...
The accessibility options usually turn off the special features.
Yeah.
Is usually what it comes down to.
So it's just so weird to me, like, where... And again, I'm not talking about the minority of people, like, what if you can't reach the second trigger? Like, what if you have a finger problem? Like, and like, is remapping...
You can't put the pressure that is required for the adaptive
remapping
triggers.
Not going to be an option? Remapping is an option on the DualShock 4.
Well, I don't think you'll have to worry about remapping just because PlayStation was like in front of like the accessibility for the controller, so I'm assuming that stuff's going to be there. But
if I take L2 to square, how do I get the pressure sensitive?
True, you would have to hope that there's a way around that, or they just won't let you move the triggers, which would be super frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. This is baffling. We were, like when we were doing the Xbox thing, we're thinking like, oh, the state of play will cover that for the podcast, but probably not unless something major happens at the state of play. But Sony's, they got to get. I don't
understand their strategy right now. It's almost like Microsoft is just this little boxer that just keeps hitting you in the jaw, hitting you in the jaw. And Sony has the ability to Mike Tyson them, and they're not doing it.
So here's the thing: what the thing we're seeing is what we saw leading into last generation, where Microsoft was on top from the 360, or at least North America wise.
Yeah,
and they went into the Xbox One super cocky with horrible messaging because they thought they were untouchable. And Sony, coming in with the PS4, were jabbing Microsoft left and right with little things. The always online thing, the use games thing, all those stuff. And Sony was hungry because they were humbled from the PS2 to PS3, where the PS2 to PS3, they were the top and thought no one could touch them. And then the PS3 fumbled for them. So we're just seeing that pattern again for like the third time, where Sony is just too comfortable at top and Microsoft's hungry and are in fight mode again, and Sony is just coasting.
In Sony's defense, they're probably thinking for the most part that their first launch games, whether they're 5 or 6 launch window games, 4, 5, 6 of them that are coming out, they're all single player games, and you can only play them on PS5. So if you're going to play them on PS5, you need a haptic controller. That's fine. I'm on board with that. Like, you load up the game, it says you need to have this controller connected. Like, I get it. Like, I'm good. I'm good with that. I have no problem with that. I want to play Rocket League with a controller that I'm comfortable playing on PS5. I can't.
Yeah, and especially it's going to be the PS4 version of Rocket League. I guess technically you could be able to use it unless they release a PS5 Rocket League. Mm-hmm. But I see your point. That means if you use a DualShock 4 controller and you load up the PS5 version of Rocket League, is it going to tell you, like, you got to load the PS4 version of this game?
Yeah,
you have a DualShock controller.
Or Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
That I start the campaign on PS4, and I want to play it on PS5.
And use the controller that you've been playing with.
The controller that I'm playing with, it won't work.
The answer, I guess, to that is kind of similar to Don Maddock when they asked him, like, do you always need to be online? And he said, we have an offline console. It's called the Xbox 360. The answer to this one is, we have a DualShock 4 console. It's called the PlayStation 4. That is going to be the answer.
This controller better be this controller better be dope. Like, this controller better be good.
It looks pretty good. So hopefully it's worth it. But it's not a matter about how good the controller is. It's how well do developers use it. And that's my concern. Because a lot of these special features tend to be lost on third-party developers because it's not worth the time and resources when they have to develop for so many other platforms.
How much fun was spray painting an infamous Second Son with the touchpad?
I didn't play that game, but I know your point. How fun was Uncharted 1 having to use the 6-axis controller when that game first come out, where you're trying to balance it out using, just the actual physical controller. Yeah, and then
I had to take my Vita and put it up against a lamp in Uncharted. A physical lamp in the real world.
Yeah.
To make it bright enough.
Yep.
That's
I know.
dumb.
And that, yeah. So hopefully we don't fall into that stuff, though that might be how far we see it go just to make it useful, but third parties are just not going to mess with that. Third parties never mess with that stuff.
So Sony has made a significant impact on my life for the last 10 years. The friends that I play the games with are going to be there. That's 90% of the reason why I'm getting a PS5 or some way. But the decisions that they're making to a consumer standpoint right now is just baffling to me. Yes, I'm excited that there's a reason to play on the next gen, something only on the next gen platform, which Xbox doesn't have. But I don't, for me right now, the price and the date is what's bothering the hell out of me. Do I care as much about the price and the date of the Series X? No, because I can play all the other stuff on my PC or on an Xbox One. Do I care about the price and the date of PS5? Yes, because I need to know how much money that I'm going to need to save, or figure out what other job I'm going to need to do, or what other Patreon people I'm going to need to beg to support us to then just be able to buy this console that, as it stands right now, I don't think we're going to know the price until Labor Day.
September? Yeah.
That's not right. And it's getting annoying and it's getting irritating. And I'm holding Sony to a different standard because you're showing me and you're dangling stuff to me that I can only play on that console. That's great. That's fine. Tell me how much it costs.
Yeah, we're like roughly 90 days from launch, because the system will launch before Thanksgiving, so, November 20-something. So we're 3 months out. We're in August 3rd. We're 90 days out. They need to get the price. They need to get their messaging. I need to know their answer to Game Pass, if there is one. I need to know the backwards compatibility thing.
I don't care about their answer to Game Pass. Like, I that doesn't matter to me.
Personally, for me, I would like to know if they are going to answer it, because I honestly don't play multiplayer games enough, and PS Plus's offering has been so weak for me personally that, like, my subscription ends in January. I might not re-up because
this is where I feel Jack Trenton, the Jack Trenton's missing, because I think by this point in time,
Sean Layden.
I still think it would have been Trenton. Jack Trenton would walk up and he would Mike Tyson Microsoft 2 or 3 times by now.
Yeah. Well, so I have a little anecdote for you. The last time we were at E3, I remember talking to someone that worked for Sony on like a developer side, and I remember talking to this person, and they mentioned to me that they felt like the fire and the punchiness, I forget exactly how they phrased it, that they saw going into PS4 wasn't there, and people were getting too comfortable. And the person I was talking to liked that fire and motivation that they had early on in the PS4, and he felt that they were just, a little too comfortable and were a little too relaxed.
And those people have left.
No, that's my concern about this. Of this, like, if that person I was talking to felt that, and then looking at who was ever in charge back then, most of them are gone or moved on to other things, and that worries me. That person that told me that like 2-3 years ago, because ever since we've been doing like the PS5 coverage, what that person told me has been in the back of my head this entire time, of them just being like, it's like hubris, basically. They're like, the person was basically explaining to me, it's like they were concerned that they were falling in the same trap that was going on with the PS2 going into PS3 of just like they got comfortable, they got cocky, and then they got uppercut, got knocked out.
Okay. So let's say it's December 1st of this year. So December 1st, 2020. Okay. Mm-hmm. Will the Xbox Series X be out?
Yes. No, they're out in November. Everything's out before Thanksgiving.
So that means the PlayStation 5 is out as well. Okay.
Yes.
My next question for you is if you own, let's say you own both consoles. Okay. Will you be able to play Halo on December 1st?
Yes.
Will you be able to play Ratchet and Clank on December 1st?
I still don't know if they ever gave a release date for Ratchet and Clank. I'm guessing no.
Will you be able to play Spider-Man Miles Morales on December 1st?
Because that's a 1.5 sort of situation, that will be on launch.
The answer to those two questions is I don't know.
I think
no, you don't.
Miles Morales.
We know you can play Halo.
Oh yeah, we don't know.
We know you can play Halo on your next gen console. That's a Microsoft exclusive game that you can play on the next gen console. We don't know what is coming at launch for PS5. Like, what game are you going to go into the store, you're going to buy your console, and what game are you going to buy, or you're going to be at work, and you're going to get your console, and what game are you picking up off the shelf at launch? You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know at this moment.
It's August.
What's going to be there? Yeah, I know.
It's August. Like, the consumer needs to demand better from this. Like, how we don't know. The date isn't even as important to me as the price. Yeah.
But the date is going to be important if it's closer.
If November.
They keep cutting it closer and closer. Yeah.
It's November. Like, the date is November, and that's fine. But in, 6 paychecks between now and then? Between now and, let's say it comes out November 10th, maybe 7 paychecks for people that are paid bi-weekly?
Yeah, you get 2 of those a month. So
it's bad. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and again, I'm holding Sony to the standard because you showed me stuff that makes me want to buy your next system. Show me this price.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're playing chicken, because both companies
they're gonna win. They know that they're gonna win, and we know they're gonna win in terms of selling the console. Microsoft has stepped away from the console war. They're not in it. Like, the thing that was not even in here is, like, they brought it up in the Facebook group, is they removed the word Xbox from Game Pass. They're just calling it Game Pass with the Xbox logo on it, because that damn thing's going to be on the Fire Stick and the Roku and the Apple TV and the iPad and the Android tablets. It's going to be on there.
Yeah.
And
eventually
it's just going to be called Game Pass. Microsoft does not care where or how you play their game. They just want your $14.99 a month. That's all they want.
Yeah. They're playing a game 10 years down the road, basically. They're playing for the next 10 years.
2 years ago, if you would have asked me who's better future-proof, I would have said Sony. Yeah. That is 100% changed now to Microsoft.
Yeah.
I don't care how much it costs to develop a game. I don't care how much it costs to develop a game. You have a guaranteed revenue service. Like, how does Netflix sign some of the stupidest deals they've signed and take money and wipe their ass with it and light it on fire? And to make it an exclusive Netflix movie that nobody really watches because they print money.
Yeah. Long story short, we're very frustrated with how things are going with PlayStation, but yet day one we're probably buying a PlayStation 5.
I am. Like, I mean, as long as this thing doesn't cost $700.
Yeah. Even though you might end up spending $700 once you buy a couple games and controllers.
Patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. We should probably get off this topic because we're already at the hour mark. We still have half a show. But please, if anyone's tired of hearing us talk about the PS5, speculate about the PS5, don't complain to us. Complain to Sony for not releasing information. We wouldn't have to speculate if they just gave us a release date.
I'm tired of talking about this, and I'll stop talking about it when I see a damn dollar symbol and numbers next to it. It's not hard.
And I'm just waiting for them to just fuck up the pre-orders and then only give a notice and then have it happen at midnight and then bots take the pre-orders from me. I'm already getting ready for that disappointment.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, let's move on from this. But yeah, please release the price and release date.
All right. So what we're planning on watching, I'm going to, I guess, do a review because I didn't actually expect to review this. This is a game I purchased myself. I purchased it primarily because I was on vacation. So I bought Paper Mario: The Origami King, which is a new Paper Mario game exclusively for the Switch. So this, I think I got this for like $50 at Walmart. So it's like $50 or $60. Mainly I picked it up because I was, had a car ride to and from Virginia, which is 11 hours. 12 hours with kids. So it's the basis of it is it's a very typical Mario game. Mario is with Luigi, and he starts out going to Princess Peach Castle for the origami festival that they're having in town. And he gets there, and of course, like all hell breaks loose, and this rogue origami named Oliver has taken over, kidnapped Princess Peach, and he took the castle, uprooted it out of the ground, and put it up in a volcano, and wrapped it around with a whole bunch of like paper streamers. They take the paper aspect in all of the games. Like this is probably like the 5th or 6th Paper Mario game that they've done. And they've all been super, super unique, different gameplay mechanics, and using, like the paper to the advantage. And then, you find out that, he's the new Origami King, and Ollie's the Origami King, and then you discover during gameplay that you pick up another companion, and as the beginning of the origin story starts off, you have Olivia with you, and she turns out to be Ollie's brother, so she's kind of going against her brother. When he wraps the castle up and takes it, it launches Mario off the castle, like every Mario game does. So he gets launched far away from the thing, and you start hearing about the story, and you go to all these different areas in the world. The same thing again, like tried and true method of, like, there's a desert, there's a cloud world, there's an ocean world, there's an ice world, there's a snow world. Like the very basic. What I was more fascinated by was just the depth of each location. Like each location like had a town and had its own story, and every streamer, because like there's like 5 streamers sticking out of the castle that went across the world that you had to break the streamer. Every one of those streamers, paper streamers, required multiple hours to play and to figure out the puzzle and figure out the mechanic, defeat that dungeon, to pick up an earth power, to then hopefully use that earth power to fight the boss that was protecting that streamer that you were trying to break up, to then gain access to the castle. So the fights where you were going after the earth powers, like the water and the fire power, and those were very generic fights. The battle system is a circular ring system where Mario's in the middle unless he's fighting a boss, and then around him he has like 5 rings that you can rotate in a circle, or you can push them out and in, like you can push them in vertical rows up and down to position the enemies, and it was all about putting them in groups of 4 or putting them in a straight line to use your boots or your hammer, the items that you pick up. And there's a timing mechanic to it as well. Like if you've ever played like Super Mario RPG, like right before the hammer hits them, you want to make sure you hit the A button and you do more damage. So there was already like a puzzle mechanic to the ring system, and then there's a little bit of a puzzle mechanic to the timing system of your attacks. And then when you fight the boss, you're actually on the outside of the rings, and the boss is in the center of the ring, so that changes it up a little bit to where you had to use the rings to navigate your way closer to the boss, and you had to spin the rings in a certain order to avoid obstacles, or to pick up a power-up, or to turn on a magic circle for you to access some of the earth powers that you had picked up as you played through the game to fight the bosses. Each earth-powered boss was very similar. Like if you were fighting the ice boss and you already had fire, then the fire did significantly more damage to him. Fire and ice, or the way those work. The unique part of the boss fights, the boss encounters, were when you got to the streamer bosses. So, and this is where it kind of went over the top a little bit. Like one of the bosses was, and I don't want to like spoil a whole bunch of stuff, but it was things that you would use to make origami. Like household items that you would use to make origami. Mm-hmm. So like one of the first bosses you fight, this is a brief spoiler, but it's just a boss fight. You would fight a box of colored pencils.
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of it, and it seems like everything's kind of like it's a little out there for like Mario humor, but I'm not too familiar with like the Paper Mario world.
So those items, those items that you were fighting, and they did something like the colored pencils were missiles, and that's what they would fire at you. And then he would get ready to it was in a metal box, and once he fired all his missiles, the metal box would come at and attack you and like try to like clap you inside the box. So, and those things all looked great, and those fights were fun and unique and challenging how you fought through them, and each one was like it was just interesting. And then all the little side stuff like rescuing toads as you went out throughout the world, finding little secrets and finding collectibles and all that, the off the beaten path things that you could do in a game if you wanted to. But the core story and the writing was great. Your sidekick character Olivia, where she kind of hung out with you all the time, she had witty humor going through the game. The boss fights, they would talk to you as well. No voice acting, lots and lots and lots and lots of reading. And then the battle system drained on me a little bit. As it kept continuing, I started eventually seeing myself almost trying to purposely avoid fights that I could, just because it was like I don't really want to go through this, and because some of them weren't like super easy fights all the time. It'd always be like 8 or 12 enemies, and like over time your weapons, like your legendary boots or your iron boots or your iron hammer they'd wear out and break, and you'd have to find another one or go fast travel to the shop and buy another one. But just the dynamics between the companions that you have throughout the game, and just how like unique and cool like everything looked while taking advantage of a paper theme, like a thin paper theme to it. Mario's very thin and pliable. The toads you're pulling toads out that are jammed between two walls, and you're pulling them like as a piece of paper and like snapping them out, and they get flung across the room and hit the wall, or they're still stuck in a folded state and you have to beat them with your hammer to get them flattened out. Just finding all that stuff and little small little fetch quest missions like that kind of get annoying, but at the same time are fun and funny because they don't take it too seriously. It's not there was a mission where you're shooting at paper airplanes that are being flung at you in a fighter style mission. You're trying to navigate a boat in like Wind Waker style, and it was fun and witty, and it just hooked and engaged me to where I just wanted to continue playing and keep playing. Like, oh, I just want to get to this. I just want to beat this streamer. Like, oh, this boss probably would be really easy. And then, oh, I'm so close to this Earth Power boss is easy. I beat him. So the streamer boss can't be that far away. And then you go into this other room and you're like, holy crap! Like, this is a whole nother dungeon. Like, and it's just surprising when you look at the core world and you get to where you are. You're surprised, and then you turn the corner and you open up something else. You're like, what the heck? And just the broadness of the world was a little bit overwhelming at first, but then when I look back after I completed the game, it was fun and engaging and good to play. The fighting, like I said, got a little bland, but the really good written story, very humorous at times, just unique villains like the boss, the Origami King, Ollie. Very unique, and he wasn't in your face all the time. He only showed up at certain times, so I think that worked out really well. Again, I was just amazed by the depth and the uniqueness of the world, and again, for built around paper, like the game just looks great. I haven't played a ton of games on my Switch, so I confetti going everywhere. There's like a confetti mechanic where you can fill holes in by kicking up confetti that you get from fighting. So you're throwing, there's all these particles on the screen, and even like when they were showing like the little cutscenes or the boss fights of things that were going on, everything ran well and looked good. And I played a lot of it in handheld mode. So like just getting the planetary powers was very basic, but then fighting the bosses and learning the weaknesses of the boss and being able to equivalate those weaknesses to what you have in your arsenal, and then timing it and lining it up correctly, it was super rewarding when you did it correctly. Like, there's no greater feeling than lining up something correctly and watching a boss's health go from 75% to 0. Like, that's like super satisfying in terms of like just watching the hit powers go down and down and down and down. And then just the depth of the collectibles, like walking off the stage a little bit and like sliding Mario through a thin piece of wall that you normally wouldn't be able to get to if it wasn't a Paper Mario type game. and then there being a collectible in there or another item in there or a toad in there that you were looking for. Just all great. So I truly, truly enjoyed this game. It's been a long time since I got that hooked into a Mario game. And because I helped Owen play Mario Odyssey, and like that didn't grab me as much as this one did, and I didn't expect this one to grab me as much as it did. It's totally like a 4.5 out of 5. It's one of the, it's up there for me with Last of Us 2 for great game that I played this year, and I've beaten two games in like 2 months.
That's pretty good for you. Usually, you kind of let games fall to the wayside after a little bit if it doesn't like engage you fully. But it's good to hear that like Paper Mario was able to get you and like hook you.
Yeah, which I was
especially on the Switch.
Yeah, I was super surprised about. It's got me looking at some of the older Paper Mario games, but the Switch isn't backwards compatible. So, and I don't think they've ported any of them to there. And it's fun to play a game that it didn't matter if like 2 or 3 times last week on vacation, Owen kind of climbed up on the chair with me or in bed when I was playing in bed, and he would lay down and watch me play for a little bit, and he'd try to tell me what to do because he's seen YouTube videos and stuff on it, and then 20 minutes later, he's passed out asleep because he was watching Dad play the game, and he fell asleep because it was like 9:30 at night, and he'd been sunburned and swimming all day. So it was really good to see him. So I think a 4.5 because it's a 5-point scale. So yeah, it's a 4.5 out of 5.
It's good.
4.5 stars out of 5 stars. So
did you play anything else?
Not really. I started Neversong, which is a game that we were sent. It's a side-scrolling puzzle game that hits you right off the bat with a quote of, "This game has traumatic things that happen in it," and and it's not afraid to show that to you. And it says there's traumatic activities that happen in this game, and you're not alone. If you need help, please ask. So it's definitely like a mental health style game. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm about an hour in and trying to get a good grasp on the gameplay mechanic of it seems to be a very basic game, side scroller that you're walking left or walking right and looking at puzzles. I just picked like early on I picked up like a bat, and you can break things and open things up, and it looks to use a little bit of music, pianos, and just overall music in general. Like right at the beginning of the game, you're going through this part of the world that you just continuously keep repeating it. And I repeated it for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I was like, there's got to be something here I'm missing. And it essentially wanted you to spell out a word. And then in order to spell that word out, you had to ring doorbells that were on different levels in a certain order. And then it lets you continue to progress. And that was kind of like the title screen. And it told you nothing. Like the game told you nothing. It didn't tell me how to jump. It didn't I was just like, it just was like, hey, go have fun, figure it out. And it still has a very basic tutorial system. I think that if I can get everything hooked up again correctly, I will probably try to stream it a little bit this week as I play it. Because I feel like I was playing it in handheld mode again. And by the way, I love my Hori control pad, Split Pad Pro, the Hori that I talked about last week. The only thing that I did have a problem with it, and maybe you can speak on this because you take your Switch portable more than I do. When driving home from Virginia, when I ran into rough spots on the road and the road would bounce, my controllers would disconnect.
So my original DualShock Joy-Cons, they were loose, and I would notice some looseness. Sounds like your Switch, it's either those controllers already somehow got loose, or your Switch tracks are somehow loose.
But it doesn't happen when I'm playing on the couch or laying in bed. It was the car.
But that might be enough motion that's causing that. But I played my Switch on the bus and haven't ran into that issue. The tracking might just be a little loose somehow.
Yeah. I haven't seen if it happens with I haven't seen if it happens with the Joy-Cons, and I haven't heard Owen complain about the Joy-Cons because he still only gets to use the Joy-Cons because I think he's the one that made the stick drift.
I was also going to say he might have messed up the tracking just a little bit. So
no, he was barely using the Split Pad Pros,
No, but I'm talking about the tracking that's on the actual Switch itself.
The track that slides into, you mean?
Yeah. If those get shaken up, that can cause a little bit of a disconnection. But it could be something with the Hori ones.
Yeah,
that they need perfect connection.
Yeah, it seemed like it was fine, but it just seemed like if I had my elbow resting on the center console of the car while I was holding it, and you hit a bump right, all of a sudden, I don't know if I just kind of joinked the controller up a little bit to where it's like lost its connection and wanted me to hit L and R real quick and then hit A. And it got to the point where it was almost like I stopped playing for like 45 minutes in the car because I was like, this is terrible. It was happening like multiple times in a minute. But other than that, I'm really, really enjoying the Split Pad Pro. It's way better than the Joy-Cons. It's cheaper than the Joy-Cons. I don't care about the motion controls. I don't care about the rumble functionality. None of that is available in there. And I haven't even used the triggers that are on the back. I'm just using it for the bigger, the ZR buttons on top and the L and the R buttons. And then the thumbsticks are just for normal handed people.
Well, for games classic games, like basic games still use the Switch like it has those buttons anyways. Like it makes sense, especially if you're a single playing person, like you don't need the features of being able to take the Joy-Cons off. You're gonna want it to be a D-pad and be a better analog stick.
So, but yeah, that's it for playing and watching. Or I mean, well, I watched baseball. That season needs to be canceled.
Yeah, right. Not just because the Tigers are bad, right?
No, the Tigers are above 500. Thank you very much.
Oh, are they? Okay.
And they should St. Louis can't control their ability to catch or not catch the coronavirus, so I think you should just give the Tigers all 4 of the wins that they just took away from them, like not playing the game at all. You should just give the wins.
Sox series got canceled for next week against the Cardinals. Like they already have taken it that far, where it's like, no, they're in quarantine, so bye-bye Field of Dreams.
I saw that report, like the White Sox are still going to play, but they don't know who. They got delayed. The White Sox are still going to play at the Field of Dreams, but they don't know who they're going to play yet.
They got to like rearrange the whole schedule now. So,
yeah.
Okay.
If Major League Baseball has one more outbreak, it's done. Like if they have one more outbreak in the next 10 to 12 days, it's over.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to stop, and the NFL better figure out a bubble.
Yep, they better fucking hurry up with that bubble.
But it's been super refreshing to have baseball on in the background, to have basketball on. I caught myself watching like the Rockets Mavericks game at like 11:30 at night on ESPN when I should have been asleep. I was entertained by it and just to watch it. So like I'm happy that there's a little bit of sports. It's a selfish happy just because
at least the NBA is doing it well.
Yeah.
Like safety-wise, they seem to be doing pretty well. I think they've had 1 or 2 little outbreaks, but they've been able to contain it.
Yeah, most of those are from those rogue guys trying to go get wings from a strip club.
Yeah, so at least they're able to contain it, but like baseball can't control it, so baseball probably will be canceled. Yeah. I have a feeling we won't be watching baseball in 2 weeks.
And then no college athletics are going to happen, by the way.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like they just need to give up. So, but yeah, I mean, we watched a couple just junk movies on Amazon. I can't even remember what one of them was, like a Wahlberg movie called Instant Family. That was just more of like that was actually really funny. It was supposed to be kind of be like a feel good movie, but it was really funny. And I was actually more fascinated with a PG-13 movie that had that many curse words in it, and it was a lot.
Well, you can say shit.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was just...
You get one fuck, but
yeah,
it has to be a very specific fuck.
That's what my wife was telling me when I was because I was just more surprised by it. I was like, wow. And I neither here nor there. Like, I don't care. Like, rating systems I think are outdated anyways. Like, I'm not saying that, but, when Owen's 13, am I going to let him watch that movie? Probably. Probably watch it before then. So it was called like Instant Family, and I watched them another movie. We fell for it. I think it was on Amazon Prime. I don't have the name of it in front of me right now. She was like a female bounty hunter in like a New Jersey based area where she was hunting, or she was trying to fulfill a bounty for the money on a guy that she dated in high school, and it turned into like some kind of romantic comedy. But the problem was when we watched the trailer, we laughed like 10 times during the trailer. That was like 2 minutes long, but that was every single funny moment in the movie.
Love when that happens.
Yeah. So the relevance of the movie is so my wife said it was called One for the Money. So one movie we watched was Instant Family. The other one was called One for the Money, and that was on just the other day when we got back from Virginia, and we were both like, we don't want to get out of bed.
My list is kind of small. I played more Fall Guys. I believe I mentioned that last week. There was another beta for the Fall Guys. I didn't mention that. The Fall Guys is a game show battle royale where it's just you play a bunch of characters that look like they're out of Humans Fall Flat and Game Beasts, and it's a battle royale where 60 of these creatures go round to round in elimination rounds until there's one left. to capture the crown. This game, I think, has potential to be huge. It is going to be
giving it away for free on PlayStation Plus.
Yes, this is a good thing. So PlayStation
Rocket League
Plus,
of 2020.
Yep. I think this has a huge chance to be big. It's on PC and PS4. I played on both. I was into beta, and I had beta keys for both. So I'm really excited about this. I'm so excited that it's going to be free for PS Plus, because that was my big concern with this game, is it requires 60 people to have a match, and that scares me when you need that many people for this. We've seen a lot of battle royales fail because they can't fill in 100 people consistently. So this being on Plus is really huge, and I think it's coming out in a perfect time. Like August, there's nothing else really out right now. People are indoors. This is like a great time for this game to release, and I'm super excited.
It's the same type of game of like when you jump in somebody's PSN party and you see 2 or 3 of them playing Fall Guys. You're like, what are you doing? Like, oh, it's free on Plus, get it. And then they get it, and then they just lost 3 hours of their night.
Yeah, you can get in a party and then hop into like a 60-player match. I don't think there's any private servers or anything like that, but it doesn't matter. You can get your party in there. It's really fun. I'm probably going to try and get my friends to download it on Plus, just because I want to be able to play this more with people. It's just, I don't know, it's the game show element. It's like a combination of like Wipeout, Ninja Warrior, The Floor is Lava, that sort of rounds you're looking at, obstacle courses to go through. You
loved this at E3 last year.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite things that I played at E3.
I think you gave it an award.
I don't think I did. I think I was close to. I might have. I don't remember. But this is something I'm like excited for. And as soon as a PS Plus announcement happened, I'm like, yes, this has a chance to be successful if their servers can handle it. Because we've seen Plus games.
How was the servers on the beta?
Pretty good, but it was a really controlled beta. I know they kind of blew it out the last weekend just because they gave away thousands of keys to like streamers to pass out to their communities. So I think it should be fine, but Plus is a whole other thing. We've seen multiplayer games fail on Plus because they can't handle
Drive Club.
Drive Club. No, I'm thinking of like Disc Jam was one of those ones that they couldn't handle the server capacity the first couple days, and it took it a couple weeks to figure it out. And by then, most people moved on.
Yep, it was done. So.
Rocket League is like the only one that I can think of that was successful, like on day one server wise. But even they had a rough patch. Mm-hmm. So played a lot of that. I hopped into Grounded. I didn't get to do the multiplayer because I played it when it first came out, like the first couple hours it was available. This is the like survival game from Obsidian, where it's basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So the single player stuff is pretty lackluster. It's in early access, so they're going to add more. But what I can speak to is it lacks some of the tutorial stuff, which I think is like a common thing now with a lot of games, especially survival ones. But overall, like the world that they built is really fun to just mess around with. The bugs are scary as hell to fight, though they do have a mode to where you can turn spiders, if you have arachnophobia, into like little blob creatures, so you're less scared, which I thought was hilarious. But the single player campaign, the like 2-3 hours that I played, was just basic stuff of you just trying to figure out what happened to you or who did this to you, and discovering like little stations hidden around this backyard that you're shrunk down on, like little tiny stations that looks like there was some sort of science experience happening, which you happen to stumble on, and that's why you were shrunk down. But the mechanics are pretty okay. I had the thing where I was having fun, or things look cool and I wanted to do them, but the actual act of gathering resources was kind of boring and mundane for me, because that's just how survival games are.
It's more fun with friends too.
Yeah, which I'm hoping to hop in with some multiplayer. I basically had to explain what Game Pass was to one of my friends who was thinking of getting Game Pass on Xbox. He was like, Game Pass is like $10 or $15. I'm like, dude, do you have a gaming PC? He's like, yeah. I'm like, Game Pass is $5. And he's like, oh shit. And he bought Game Pass, so we're probably gonna play Grounded later this week.
Well, do you know, can PC play with console?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
But it was just one of those things where my friend didn't even know PC Game Pass existed.
Yeah.
And was going to pay the extra money to play this game when he didn't have to. The game was a little bit buggy for me. I actually had to drop the game down to like medium settings because it was having issues with my computer, which I can run way better looking games on high.
Yeah,
and
but I don't
ultimate.
think Grounded looks like a heavily intrusive. But it could be beta. They could be cleaning the stuff up. So
yeah, but that was one thing I noticed, that like my 1060 was chugging, and I'm just like, no, I can play ultimate still. Don't take this away from me yet, or ultra.
Yeah.
Don't do this to me, games.
No, it's definitely
so
something I want to check
that.
out. I need to remember to download it.
And then let me just do a quick review for Atomicrops. I talked a little bit about this last week. This is a farming / survival / shoot 'em up bullet hell hybrid sort of game. The basic story with this one is basic story, like there's an opening cutscene and then you're just in the world. You inherit a farm and a nuclear bomb suddenly goes off, and now you're trying to survive the nuclear apocalypse and farm, food to survive. So the gameplay loop breaks down into like a day-night cycle with very limited time, where you spend the morning in like a marketplace hub where you can upgrade your equipment, and then in the morning / afternoon you're on the farm farming, and you have some enemies to deal with as you're farming, and you tend to your crops that you have, or you can explore the outer edges of your farm and the larger world to gather more resources and run into more enemies, because you're given very limited stuff to grow at the beginning, so you kind of just have to explore the world so you can get seeds, so you can continue to farm and then upgrade stuff through like little battles that you come across throughout the world. The enemy types they're basically just it turns into like a bullet hell shoot 'em up. Basically, most enemies just send like little orbs and fire like their guns at you while you're farming, and the actual act of farming is kind of tedious, a little time consuming, but the whole point of the game is to just kind of grind and find different upgrades along the way to make your farming life easier, so you can get a better crop and then take it back to the hub to do more upgrades, or like more fulfilled upgrades. There's several currency systems that you're working with that you're going through, but unfortunately the game doesn't do a good job at explaining all of these elements to it. You kind of just stumble through it, but the core gameplay mechanics are fun enough that once I fell into a rhythm and knew the mechanics fully, I was able to like fully enjoy this game. You only have one life bar, and you're going through the entire game with that one life bar, which can be a little bit frustrating, so you will die several times before you like figure out the mechanics fully. You do have a gun to defend yourself against enemies, but all the guns are different. It's a roguelike, so what guns are available to you at first, or upgraded guns, is always going to be different. You have just like a standard pistol to defend yourself and your crops. So you're just going through that balance until you find like the most optimal way to get through a level in order for you to progress through the seasons, which aren't very long. It's like a couple days per season, and each day doesn't last too long. At night is where it gets kind of crazy. So at night, depending on how well you did during the day, if you're really quick with it and you use optimal routes, paths, settings, or whatever equipment to farm, you can get a lot of stuff from the daytime when there's barely any enemies attacking your farm. But at night, it just turns into bullet hell craziness with dozens of enemies shooting at you. The third night, there's always a boss. So you can still farm during that craziness, though it's not recommended. But if you're really trying to get the most out of your crops and your seeds, then you're going to want to farm during nights. But there's a higher chance that you're going to lose lives, and because you only have one life bar, there could be some frustration there. So this game turns into a thing where it's just about dying a lot because it's a roguelike, but just finding the optimal ways to get through this game and get through the seasons. I spent several hours before I got through the first year, and I, would die, really early in the year, and then barely scrape by into like the second and third year with my life. And it's a roguelike, so you have to get used to the frustration that when you die, you're going to lose everything, which I'm fine with. But that can be frustrating for some people. I will say I wish there was a better tutorial, because I feel like I banged my head against things a little too much early on, that if they could have just explained all the different like currencies that I'm working with, because you earn cashews for your crops that you can use to buy more seeds or some better equipment, but then there's also like a roses you can grow that are then used for currency that you can use to flirt with other people on the farm to give you better equipment, or you can use it to regain health. And it's just a little annoying, because I would sometimes spend stuff without knowing about other elements, and then it wasn't until like my third or fourth run and I'm like, okay, I know how to spend these things, and that's some early frustration that could have been saved by just explaining to me all the different currencies that I'm working with. And then the shooting, it's kind of basic. It's really simple, the shooting. It's almost twin stick-esque or light. But the guns all have different flaws, which are annoying, different ways. And that could be a little bit annoying. That's one of those things where it's just, eventually you will find the gun types that you enjoy and you're good with, and you stick with that. And then when you get a run where you don't start out with that upgrade, you get kind of frustrated and you almost want to hit restart on your run, because you know what weapons you can get that will lead to an easier time for you to get through like this run. So it's constantly just like making do with what you're given. But so many of the guns are garbage in this game, it can be a little bothersome when you get like consistently terrible guns or weapons at your disposal. But overall, I think this is it's a good game. It's a fun game. It just requires a little bit of work in order for you to find that like enjoyment level with it. It was one of those games that early on I was a little bit frustrated. I think the first time I played it, I put like an hour into it. I'm just like, let me put this away. But like the second or third session, time just kind of went away where I pick up the controller and then like 4 hours later, I'm like, shit, I just played 4 hours and I didn't get that far in the game, but I just kept restarting. Like I figured something else out, die, realize something else, and then just keep that loop going, and time just got lost. So
those are
I enjoy
always
it.
Good indicators when you just lose yourself in a game. Like that's always a good indicator of enjoyment.
Yeah. So this was a game I do like. There is some issues though. There are, even though it's like a very pixelated, simple art style. It does have some performance issues on a PS4, which was a little frustrating. Like some frame rate issues when stuff gets crazy and like bosses there. I think the tutorials could have been better. The shooting could have been a little tighter. There's some early frustrations that I feel like could have been avoided. But overall, I did have fun with the game. So that's why I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5. I think it's good. It's not going to be for everybody. Roguelikes are just like that. It's either going to be a roguelike that draws you in. This one, I had to work a little bit to get it to the point where it drew me in, but once it got its hooks in me, I just kept playing and playing and playing. There's just little things that they could have tweaked to potentially have made it a more enjoyable experience. Awesome. But overall, pretty good. That's it for games for me. I've been watching a lot of anime. Me and Sarah are just going through random animes. So I watch Erased, which I will happily put in my top 10 animes. Spoiler alert, I've seen about 10 animes, so it's still a good anime.
9.5.
It's probably going to be like in the 5 to 8 rank of my top 10 animes. I really liked it. I also like making lists. And then I just finished The Promised Neverland with her, and that's also one of those animes that it'll probably be like number 11 in my top 10 list. But it's a really good one. And if anyone has any recommendations for animes, me and Sarah are looking specifically for animes that only last 1 to 2 seasons and are in like the mystery crime genre or supernatural. We don't really like over the top My Hero animes or anything like that. We like either slice of life animes or mystery crime animes. So if anyone has suggestions, please send them my way.
All right. I vote we skip questions. We have one of our longer episodes already, so
Yeah, we can save the questions for
Yeah,
next week. There's nothing on here that's specific to time.
Yeah, so thank you guys for sending the questions in. Please send more. You can send non-gaming related questions. We actually have a couple of those, but please, send questions and send more of them as you go. And so social media stuff, just in general, like our main Twitter is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's is at the first MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. All those will be linked in the show notes, along with the Facebook group and the Discord channel. And then the last two things are our Patreon, patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, where there's multiple tiers, $1 tip jar, $3 Discord access to a private channel, $5 gets you 24-hour early access to the numbered episodes, and $7 gets you a bonus episode, which we need to record for August because it's August now.
Yep, we'll probably record that later this week.
Yeah, there's 3 other episodes that are already there, so once you become a $7 supporter, you get access to all of the bonus content, along with the 24-hour early access, along with the Discord channel, or the Discord server. And then there's also just a direct PayPal link. Again, for both of those, they're just multiple ways for you guys to show support. They are not required. They are greatly appreciated if you can do them, but please do not do them if you cannot financially afford to do them. That's not what this is about. It's just a way for you guys to show financial support for what we're trying to do, trying to accomplish, and trying to grow. So with that said, we are running a little long in the tooth for our standard that we've set for time frame. So I hope everyone has a great week, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Don't be a dick. See ya.